In the spring of 1452, in the small village of Vinci, Italy, a child was born out of wedlock to a notary and a peasant woman. His name was Leonardo. No one could have imagined that this illegitimate boy denied a formal classical education would grow into one of the greatest minds in human history. From an early age, Leonardo displayed an unusual curiosity. While other children played, he studied the movement of water, the flight of birds, and the intricate details of plants. Yet his path was not easy. Because he was born outside of marriage, he was excluded from certain academic opportunities reserved for legitimate sons. He never received the traditional education in Latin and Greek that scholars of his time considered essential. This limitation could have confined him, but instead, it freed him. Leonardo learned by observing the world itself, making nature his greatest teacher. At 14, he was apprenticed to Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. There, he trained in painting, sculpture, and mechanical arts. It was said that when Leonardo painted an angel in Verrocchio's Baptism of Christ, his work was so masterful that his teacher reportedly vowed never to paint again. Yet even as his talent flourished, Leonardo struggled with self-doubt and perfectionism. He began projects with passion, but often left them unfinished, chasing an ever higher standard of excellence. Leonardo's hunger for knowledge extended far beyond art. He dissected human corpses in secret to understand anatomy, an act both dangerous and controversial at the time. He filled thousands of pages with sketches of muscles, bones, and organs, determined to capture the human form with scientific precision. He designed flying machines centuries before airplanes existed, sketched prototypes of tanks and armored vehicles, and studied hydraulics and urban planning. However, many of his inventions remained on paper. The technology of his era could not support his visionary ideas. He lived as a man ahead of his time, often misunderstood and sometimes unsupported. Financial instability also followed him. Despite his brilliance, Leonardo frequently depended on wealthy patrons for survival. He worked under the powerful Duke of Milan, Ludovico Sforza, offering his services not only as an artist, but as a military engineer. When the Duke fell from power, Leonardo lost his position and wandered from city to city seeking work. His life was marked by political upheaval, shifting loyalties, and the constant uncertainty of patronage. One of the most significant turning points in Leonardo's life came during his years in Milan. There, he was commissioned to paint the Last Supper. It was not merely a religious artwork. It became a revolutionary exploration of human emotion. Leonardo spent years experimenting with new techniques, seeking to portray the psychological intensity of the moment when Christ announces betrayal. Though the painting later suffered deterioration due to his experimental methods, it immortalized his name and redefined artistic storytelling. This project solidified his identity not just as a skilled craftsman, but as a visionary who united science and art later in life. Leonardo returned to Florence and began painting what would become the most famous portrait in history, Mona Lisa. He carried the painting with him for years, continuously refining it, never truly considering it complete. It symbolized his lifelong pursuit of perfection, a pursuit that was both his greatest strength and his deepest struggle. In his final years, Leonardo accepted an invitation from King Francis I of France. There, he found respect, stability, and recognition. Though his right hand became paralyzed, limiting his ability to paint, his mind remained active. He spent his last days organizing his notebooks, thousands of pages filled with ideas that the world would only begin to understand centuries later. Leonardo da Vinci died in 1519, not as a wealthy conqueror or political ruler, but as something far more enduring, a symbol of limitless human potential. His life was marked by obstacle, social exclusion, unfinished works, financial instability, and the frustration of ideas too advanced for his era. Yet he never allowed circumstances to confine his imagination. He proved that genius is not born from comfort, but from relentless curiosity and courage. The lesson of Leonardo's story is clear. True greatness lies in the courage to explore beyond boundaries. Education may open doors, but curiosity builds new worlds. Even if your ideas are not understood today, they may shape tomorrow. Leonardo teaches us that a restless mind, driven by passion and perseverance, can transcend time itself. He was not simply a painter. He was not merely an inventor. Leonardo da Vinci was, and remains, a genius without limits.